Hello, my name is Peter Parfitt and welcome to New Brick Workshop. The workshop's moving location. We're going into a double garage. It's got no ceiling. You look straight up and you see the tiles or the felt under the tiles, and I really would like to use that space up above for storage. The walls are not cavity walls, and so I'm going to have to put some dry lining in. Here's a picture of what it looks like up above. Bit of boarding, not a lot of headroom. That needs to be improved. So I'm first of all going to cut a hatch. I've fixed my Festool guide rail in place, and I've done a couple of cuts using the TS55 saw. And there's the actual cut done, and that piece that I've cut out is just dangling. Note how I've used the clamps to hold the pieces of wood that are above those joists so that everything is stable. Now for the dry lining, I'm getting some help from a friend of mine. This is a friend of mine, Stan. He works for a company called TGM, and he's helping me today and for the next few days doing some dry lining. Stan, can you explain to people what dry lining is all about?
The dry lining, so what we're doing at the moment is we just converted the garage from garage to workshop. So we're trying to achieve a sound as well, so to be soundproof. So what we've done at the moment is we build the walls, isolate them, and close up with soundblock. Same thing is to the ceiling. We've done resilient bar and a soundblock plus insulation, so that's going to keep all the sound inside.
Excellent. Stan, I'm really grateful for all the help you're giving me. You know, I know you're giving up a lot of your free time, and thank you very much indeed.
No problem. You're welcome.
Care. The first stage of the dry lining has been done. The framing that you saw was put up, and then the plasterboard mounted on it. And every now and again I've got places where I've got sockets. You might be able to see one over there in that corner, and the wires for those sockets are sticking out, and that's the normal way that contractors will do this sort of work. And the idea then is that you take what they call a dry lining box, and here's one. And you cut a rectangular hole of the correct size, and then you push this in. And when you then put the socket into here, the screws that go through the socket to fix it to the dry lining box actually help secure the dry lining box. They clamp it from behind the plasterboard. So I'm now making up a template so that I can cut lots of holes for these dry lining boxes. Now you can get a tool that does the cutting for you, but it's a bit too expensive and I can't justify buying one. But I'm making a template which will make the process a little quicker. And the idea is that you'd remove the cutout which is relevant to your applications. It could be above, below, or in the middle as mine is. Now if this were the drywall piece that you've cut out. So you would now push this in, like so, and then when you want to mount the socket, you push these tabs in, like so, and then as the socket is screwed onto here, these pull forward, and if you look behind, what's happened is there are some little spring bits which have popped out. Just here, one there and one there, and that stops this yellow piece going back in where it came from, and it provides then some support at the back of the plasterboard. Now if you've done a trial like me and you need to remove this, you've got to bend these tabs in like so in order to get this socket out again. So I've gone around and I've checked the heights to the centre of these holes, and they're all the same, so that's fine. So all I've got to do now is use my template, judge where the centre is, position it like so. I'm putting a spirit level on here just to make sure I don't get a socket that's too far off. Like so. And then I'm just going to draw around here with my pencil. So now that's where my socket is going. I've got a number of choices how I cut this out. You can use a rough saw, you can use one of those little plaster cutting saws, you can use a Stanley knife and get in there and then break it away, and so on. Now the key thing to watch out for is where the studs are. There's one there and there's one there. So my socket is not going to run into a stud. But if you've got the wires coming out very close to a stud, then you need to aim off a bit because you can't cut into the stud and the box won't fix if there's a stud behind part of the cutout. And so there's the hole cut away, and now I take my socket, feed the wires through the hole in the back and push this in. And it goes in nice and snugly, and then you flip these bits round. And then the final part is to wire the socket according to the code in the country where you are. And remember, you may need to be a qualified electrician to do this, and then screw it in place. Now with these, as you screw this in place, so it really secures that backing socket. And there's that socket in place. Now remember, when you're doing any electrical work, make sure the power is switched off to any cables coming to the place where you're working. And do you remember I told you about those trucks that I bought from Coldine Casters? Well, I'm using them now. I've just had a delivery. It's some chipboard flooring for the attic space of the workshop. I'm sorry, I've been up there most of the day, so that's why I'm looking a bit dishevelled. And so the lorry parked outside, I took the trucks up there, we loaded it onto the trucks, and away you go. It's about to rain, so I'm able to get it in straight away. Now, I don't have a mitre saw here, and so I want to continue to do nice square cuts. I'm sorting out a bit of the roofing here, which has not been done properly. And so there we go. I've got my track saw cutting station, which I made. I've got my tall super dogs here. I've got a couple of ordinary pups behind, so I push the wood against it, and I can now make a perfect cut. So there you have a perfect right angle cut. I can take that up to the roof space, and Bob's your uncle. I'm now cutting the panels which I'm going to be using up above in the attic space. It's not a very big space, but I want to make full use of it for storage. Now the stuff I've got I bought from Wix, and it's called their loft storage panels. And they're reasonably inexpensive, and they all slot together, a bit like Lego really, very easy to fit. I've got myself a stop here. Of course I didn't bring the path repeat stop. I wish I had, I didn't think of it. And I didn't know I'd be doing this today. Never mind. Right, I've now finally found my microphone, so I hope the sound quality is a little better, but we've still got a bit of an echo in here. Now, things have been delayed a little bit because we had a most awful rainstorm. I think a month's worth of rain fell in half an hour, something like that. And the driveway slopes very slightly towards the garage, which is now becoming a workshop. And there are a pair of doors here. The drain outside, unknown to me, was blocked because I hadn't seen it operate under wet conditions before. So we had floods of water coming in here. I mean, there was loads and loads of it. And so a few things got wet. Some of the bottom of my dry lining got a little bit damp, and I had to have a blow heater on in here for a couple of days just to make sure it was absolutely dry. And this is Spencer, and this is Ryan, and they're here to help me sort out a blocked drain, which was threatening the workshop. We had water coming in the workshop door, and they've now cleared the drain, and they put a camera down, and they're just checking to see if there's any damage. Now I'm at the exciting stage where I'm going to start installing the lighting. Basically, the fabric of the workshop is now complete. We've had it dry lined, the taping's been done, and I've actually put 2 coats of emulsion on the ceiling, so the ceiling is finished. I've only put 1 coat on the walls, so I've got that to do. Now the lighting that I'm using has come from Screwfix, and these are LED lights. They're 4000 K lighting temperature, and they're 5,600 lumen. And in this part of the workshop, I'm going to have 9 of them, and in the smaller part, I'm going to have 3. And that gives about the right amount of light for a space of this size. I've chosen LED because it's the modern thing, they're more economical. They also are instant on, and that means that you can switch the lights on and off as many times as you like without wasting a lot of energy. With the old-fashioned strip lights, the incandescent strip lights, every time you switch the light on, it took a surge of electricity, almost an hour's worth of lighting. So if you switched it on and off too many times, you would actually double your lighting bill. So these are a great improvement. Now, these are 1.5 meters long, or 5 feet, I think, is probably what they describe them as on the Screwfix website. I paid the normal price, but if you buy them in 3s, you get a 15% discount at the moment. Well, I hope you can now see that things are starting to take shape. I'm still not finished yet. We've got a loft ladder in. The loft space is now boarded quite well, but I've got to fit a hatch. On these doors that are both going out onto the driveway, I want to put some form of sound insulation there, but that has to be temporary so that the doors can be opened if necessary. But I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. I've yet to sort out the floor. It's uneven, and it's had that sort of grey paint put on almost everywhere. And so I need to grind that off, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to go about that. And I may then need to level it a bit as well before applying some other form of top coat to it. But anyway, that's for a future date. Now, I've actually also been able to squeeze a visit in where I was a guest speaker at the annual Vectric user group meeting. And this coming weekend, I'm going to be at the D&M show, hopefully on the Saturday. Perhaps I'll see you there. Many thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.